guys so far, just what you've seen from them at this point?
Yeah, Brady, we've had, guy, you look at it, we've been in it for, well over a week. And the work's been really, really, I think, we've pushed. We've sweated plenty, which we need to. I mean, I think we knew when we came into this August just how brand new it was for a good number of guys. And yet, for some of the guys that did play last year because they missed all the spring ball, we've had a really, really rugged August so far. And yet we're going to need to continue to take that path here the next 3 weeks.
13 or 14 starters, I believe, returning from last season. Do you kind of rely on those guys to show the other ones the ropes?
Yeah, I think that number's inflated, obviously, because you're probably bringing in. How would that? Probably get to that point because of specialist or whatnot. I got you. But like I said, I mean, we got a good number of guys that are learning roles that they have to fulfill. Now, there are some guys certainly that we're trying to play at multiple spots just to try to build some depth, and I think one of the things we always want to do is have our best 11 football players on the field. So some of the versatility that we're pushing right now, but especially next week, that'll be a huge part of Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. But it does help when you do have a couple of guys that maybe have been there. It's just they missed spring. So all of our nuances, our changes that we're doing, especially schematically on both offense and defense, it's new for those guys too.
Has anybody who missed spring not been able to practice so far?
Kyle Patterson has not.
Okay. It looks like, from pictures, he's at least been in uniform. Is he out there?
He's not. He is stretching. But as far as actually being able to practice, and he's stretch and walk through, but no practice activity. A good number of the other guys have been. Now, we're not where we need to be, not only individually, but collectively, just as far as conditioning. If we played a game right now, we'd get into the second quarter. It's just, I think we just got to keep, like I said, the sweat and the exertion that has to happen to build the kind of just stamina that we're going to need to get into a football season.
And how many practices have you had, and how many have been padded?
We have had one padded practice. We've had shoulder pads on in 3 others. And today will be a padded practice also. So that'll be our second one that's in full pads, and then Saturday.
Okay. And you said something about Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday next week. Is that just to see how they recover from the live scrimmage, or what? Why would you highlight those days?
Yeah, what we're going to do is we're going to take next week and we're going to move some guys into different positions, and we're going to do it so you get into October and somebody's maybe a starter is down, and all right, who's the next person to fill it so we could get 11, our best 11 out there, and that may, I just can't say enough about wanting to have our best players on the field, and it depends a little bit from week to week depending who you encounter, just because we do have some personnel groups that we'll utilize on both sides of the ball, but we're just trying to build some versatility and build some depth.
Give specifics of who would be kind of cross-training like that?
Do you take a guy like Bo Richter and maybe does he play a couple of spots? Does Camby Goff play a couple of spots? Does Jaden Goodwin play a couple of spots? Does, with the corners, do we get where there are weeks maybe where we want to be left and right, maybe weeks we want to be field and boundary? Are there weeks where maybe we want to isolate and take one particular player against another, match up against another player? And I think we have to build that. I wouldn't say variety. It's just we have to have the flexibility in our system, but with our players too. And the only way they're going to be comfortable doing that in a game week if there's some exposure that happens in August.
And is Camby playing the spur or the safety right now?
Both. Yeah, he's one that he's got to learn both. Strong safety and spur.
And would Bo be looking at an outside backer in addition?
He would, yes, sir. Yeah. They're just... a guy like Chris Herrera, playing a couple of spots. That's what we're really, really going to push next week. And, what we've tried to do is really, so much of the focus has been on instilling our system here these first 8 days and making sure that we're ready to go at it on Saturday, which we need to do, and then to branch out starting on Monday.
How's Zach Galerier been used so far?
Him too. I think he's a guy that he's not only going to play quarterback. So do we take him, and does he spend some time at tailback? In fact, we've already done that. We started that yesterday.
And with Vince Sanford, last year coming in, was he behind Lakota Wills?
He was.
And how was, his progression? Like when you first saw him, where did you envision him playing, and how has that kind of evolved?
Yeah, he was a tremendous player in high school, just productive and highly competitive. An exceptionally hard worker, and just a guy that has quite a knack for picking up football. Since he's been here, he started at outside backer. We moved him to inside backer for a while. We moved him back to outside backer, and we said, all right, we're going to leave him there last summer. And I really credit Alex Means for just the way he took off last year. And, he just some of the intricacies of pass rush, how important that is to him, and he's developed a skill that way. And he charges and charges hard, too.
What did you see that made you kind of believe that before you actually saw it? Because size-wise, he obviously doesn't really look like an outside backer, but he can do it. How did you guys see that?
Yeah, and again, I credit Alex. Alex just kept saying, as a pass rusher, you have a knack to be able to move your hips. And even though your body, you feel like a torso's in place, you got a way to get your hips moving a little bit in front of the rest of your body. And and he does use his hands exceptionally well.
And Isaac Cochran's coming in. As the line as a whole, how have you seen that cohesion? Because that group has all played a lot. Obviously there were, you miss Hawk Wimmer, but these guys all had multiple starts. How have you seen kind of that cohesion carry over?
Yeah, it's amazing what we think of it a lot. Anywhere else you'd say you got to have 15-plus starts, which I wish we did. I wish we had some guys I don't think we have anybody that has 14-plus starts, or anything like that. Isaac has good size. I think Isaac moves better. Isaac is completely committed to our development program. And Isaac's a guy that I think's always conscientious about everything he does. He's that way academically, just the maturity that he has, and certainly the way that he's been with football too. Good frame, highly competitive, good poise, good awareness, a really good football player that we need him to play better. And really, that's our whole team. I think you look at a good number of these guys, we have to play better this season. And we got a lot to prove going forward, and Isaac does. We all do.
Coach, how much is Saturday about conditioning and just kind of getting ready for the first game?
Like I said earlier, I look at it. When I go watch us practice right now, I think we move, we'll move pretty well, and we get about 40 minutes into practice. We still move pretty well. We just got to get where it's that full duration, and that does not happen instantly. And we did a bunch of running in the summer. I'm not saying our guys are ready to go play, go run a 5K or a 10K. That's not what they're training to do. But just snap after snap after snap to play with the same assertiveness and physicality and purpose, that does take some time. It's not your favorite part of August, but it's the most necessary part for a player.
You've been doing this for a long time. How do you know when your team is ready to, play 20, 30, 40 snaps, what have you?
I think you just see, like I said, you go a little bit deeper into practice, and you see the knee bend, you see the strike with the hands, you see the chase, you see the instant movement. And you're just looking for what that is in maybe periods 3, 4, and 5 to resemble as it is in periods 10 and 11 later in practice. And it carries forth, once you get into the season. I do think we have a huge advantage being at altitude, being able to train here. There's a reason why you look at how many of those Olympic sports are, it's not only because the Olympic headquarters are here, it's because they want to take advantage of, the elevation. And we feel that way too. And we are going to push, we are going to run, we're going to need it. As talented a football team as we're going to play in our opener against Northern Iowa, we're going to have to be in fantastic shape.
I'm going to take a shot at this, just more of a curiosity. Is this month of August mentally kind of draining on you because you're trying to figure out who your best 11 guys are, who fits where, and who's going to best serve your football team?
Not at all. I love it. I'm not saying I sleep a whole lot this time of year, but I'll tell you, it's as invigorating as it gets. From the standpoint, how many guys that they have to be different, even if they're returners, the way they have to be different this year than they were last year. So you can't rely upon memory. You got to rely upon the way we have to move forward, and who can play where, who could move to that spot, certain practice allocations in terms of repetitions. What do we need to do in regards to our conditioning or in the weight room? I mean, I'm not saying it's 1,000 pieces, but you got to find out, all right, how are we going to make this thing fit together when we get not only into September, but I look at us, I think we could be a later developing team this year just because of we do have a bunch of new guys in certain spots. I think, you look last year, I think when you looked like at safety and corner, I thought Corvin Taylor and Trey Bugg were about as good a combination as maybe we'd had here. And you think of up front the leadership and the talent, of Jordan Jackson and DeMonte Meeks, and those guys aren't here. And, you start going through Hawk Wimmer. That was as big and stout and physical of an offensive lineman as we've ever had here at the Air Force Academy. So you aren't going to replace those guys. But who's going to emerge? And that's the fun part of it, especially if you have guys that love to push, that love to grind, and love to work, and our guys do.
Mm-hmm. And my last question for you is, obviously the landscape of college football could be changing yearly. Do you have any concerns about where you guys land in that and the Mountain West as a whole?
I don't, just because it's not something you really can control. But the other part of it, I think naturally there will be more movement. Candidly, if you're USC or UCLA and it's a completely different revenue stream, I think you understand why, and I think for any other school that's ever made any kind of move, when Utah and TCU left and went to their respective leagues, we were fortunate to be associated with them for a good number of years, but you certainly, again, the sensibility of what they did, and yet this league, I think the advantage of this league a little bit is your geography to a degree. I just look, there aren't a large number of conferences. When you go down the time zone from the Central Zone, you convert to the Mountain or the Pacific time zone. There aren't that many leagues, so I think there's probably a little bit of natural glue that's built in that way too for this conference.
Coach, you mentioned Northern Iowa being a tough team to start out with. How do you feel like those first few games, then CU comes to town? Your strength of schedule, how do you feel about that, and how it will set you up for the later half?
Yeah, we know it's extremely stout. When you look to play somebody as good as Northern, I think basically there have been about 4 schools that have been exceptional at the FCS level that frequently would be bowl teams playing FBS football. You look at the number of years that Northern Iowa's beaten Iowa State or played them right down to the wire. The ones that come to mind obviously are North Dakota State, Northern Iowa, Sam Houston, James Madison. Fantastic programs, and one of those already, James Madison's made that transition. Northern Iowa wouldn't blink doing the same. And, you're talking about a program that Kurt Warner, NFL Hall of Famer, you're talking about an offensive lineman that just was drafted in the first round here in the most recent drafts, like the 17th, 18th pick. And just when you watch the film, they're good, really, really good. I mean, they'd make a hard push, a hard run in the Mountain West Conference. They're that good.
So how important to you is that then that you kind of stack that schedule at the beginning as, to make sure you're ready for down the road? Yeah,
it's we definitely have a heck of a schedule. Now, I don't want to say I don't give 2 cents about our schedule right now. I want everything that we're doing, we got to build and we got to develop Air Force to no end, and how many of these guys, like I said, college football is going to be brand new for them. It's going to hit them pretty suddenly. We got to we got to try to draft and create as many scenarios and just rehearsals and hard practices and good scrimmages as we possibly can to help prepare for what comes about down the road.
And my last question, quarterback room, how have you seen, I know it's only been a week of practice, but how have you seen them develop and where do they stand?
I think you look at it, we've been able to share a good number of reps. Haziq's been able to practice every day, which has been good, just because he wasn't able to in the spring, for him to get back in the groove. We've had Ben Britton and Jensen Jones and Zach Larry have also been able to get a good number of snaps, and even our younger players too.
How's first week gone?
First week's been great. I mean, it's really been awesome to get out with all the guys and have some competition again. Be able to even moving against the scouts and getting our competition reps against the ones. It's felt really good.
How does it compare to last year? When you guys had all these new guys coming in, now you've all, in some times, played together. How does that change things?
I feel like, especially as an O-line, I feel like we're already far above where we were at this point last year. I mean, we have the level of teamwork that we were developing last year, and we've been able to carry that well into this season and how it's looking so far.
When you look back at that, how much did you just not know, about what lied ahead when you were at this point last year?
Well, I mean, I was nervous, as I'm sure the rest of the guys were. We lost a great group of 5 guys, and then everyone stepped up. And then when people went down, the people behind them stepped up, and it just kept carrying like that. And we had a great year.
Yeah, and when you look back, I think you told us in September, you felt like you were at least keeping up with the standard that had been set. You guys ended up, the Joe Moore Award, led the nation in rushing. When you look back at the way that year went, how much pride do you have in the way?
A lot. I mean, for us to be able to step in and to even emulate the kind of success that the lines before us had in 19 and 20 was incredible. We really came together, and it was an awesome experience.
And what size are you at these days?
About 330. So.
Anybody else coming close to that on the line?
No, not quite. Last year we had me and Hawk at pretty high similar weights, but not this year.
And to be first team All Mountain West in the preseason, what kind of pride did you take in that?
Of course I wouldn't be here without the other people who have supported me, the coaches, my family, but it really was like a badge of honor, my work's showing off, my name's getting out there. It was really a good thing for me to see, just that people are recognizing the work that I've put in and the work that all of us have put in.
And when I talk about cohesion, obviously the line's back, but so are the skill guys. How does that translate, into even just walkthroughs, everybody kind of knowing how to hit the way certain holes are going to open?
And with how our offense plays, we're always pulling around the skill players, and they're always involved, and just knowing where they're going to be, how they're going to hit the holes. And I'm not really watching Zeke while we're playing, but I'm sure that he's feeling the same way, just knowing how people are going to react to different options, or him trying to, So that cohesion on offense is without a doubt there.
Have you guys started classes yet?
We started classes yesterday.
Oh, yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Did you practice yesterday? I can't remember.
Yes, sir. We did.
So what's it now? First week, obviously, it's all football. Mm-hmm. Now you got school. Was that difficult yesterday at all?
We're all pretty much used to the transition, and given how fall camp is, it's full days the entire time. So you just change your morning practices to school, and you keep moving.
Yeah. From a conditioning standpoint, how's that going for you? And are you getting closer to playing all those snaps on offense?
Yeah, I feel good. We're gonna, depending on just scrimmage reps and stuff like that, there's a difference in football shape, but I feel like I'm gonna be there.
And there's a lot of expectations for this team this year. Do you embrace it? Are you, or you trying to think about it? What's your approach?
Well, personally, I'm embracing it, but that's not something to lie back on. if we're predicted to win 10 games this year, that doesn't mean that we're going to win 5. So everyone on the team knows that that's how it works, and they're all working for that. We know that it's possible for us to go 12-0 and win the conference, but we know that we have to put in the work to get there.
So, are you more excited about it then, or?
Yes, very excited.
Isaac, being a senior and having some experience and accolades under your belt now, are you kind of taking on more of a leadership role this fall?
Yes, I've always tried to lead by example and just doing the right thing on every play, putting in the effort. So I'm trying to carry that on.
And what's special about this Oline group this year, and how are you said you lead by example, are you also a vocal leader, or how is the group coming together so far?
I mean, the group really respects each other, and everyone, the big thing that sets us apart is trust. I know that the guy to my left and my right is going to do exactly what they have to. I don't have to. If there's supposed to be a cut block on my backside, then I know that he's going to get the guy and knock it into my legs. And that lets me move on and do my job without worry about what's happening behind me.
Getting Zeke back to 100%, how important is that for you guys to have the year that you want to have?
It's very important. We play in the Mountain West. It's tough. Seems like every year, the Mountain West just kind of destroys itself. And for us to be 100%, for everyone to be healthy, stay healthy, and be ready to go is huge in terms of making a long run or making a great season.
Do you guys set goals for camp, or is there how do you kind of evaluate just where you're at, or is it just kind of that conditioning aspect?
I guess you could say that you could feel it during practice, just how smooth things run, how great things work. But we don't really set fall camp goals, but whenever the season rolls around, we do set team goals for them.
Are you a December grad?
Yes, sir.
Do you already have your job and assignment?
Yes, sir.
What?
I'm going to be a developmental engineer project going to Hill Air Force Base in Ogden, Utah.
Okay. Have you ever been out there?
I have not. I've been to southern Utah before and seen the national parks and stuff, but never to Salt Lake area. So.
Yeah, it's been very cool. It's really just a testament to what we were able to accomplish last year. Just try to keep it rolling this year, do even better.
Now, if I were to tell you when you were 18 that you would have these kind of, accolades piling up in college, what sport and position would you have guessed that would be for? Because I'm assuming it wouldn't be as an outside linebacker.
No, probably not. As an 18-year-old, definitely football for sure. But I don't know, maybe probably a receiver, or safety, or something like that. But yeah.
And as you look back at how that change kind of came, I mean, what stands out? Like a moment you made that transition mentally or physically, or like how has this transition gone?
It's been pretty smooth. Actually, like when I first came at the prep school, I was a safety. So coming from safety to more to like nickel outside linebacker, then to inside linebacker, now it's like a bandit. It was all like year by year, nothing pretty drastic. So I was able to transition pretty smoothly. The coaching staff's been helping me out with that a lot. So it hasn't been too difficult.
And first game last year, were you backing up Lakota or were you playing the spur?
I was playing like the other outside linebacker spot.
Opposite Lakota?
Opposite Lakota. Yeah.
Okay. So was that the position you ended up staying at, or did you then switch over to Lakota's position?
I switched over. Our defensive philosophy really changed. So Utah State last year was probably my first game playing where Lakota usually play, just because they're more of a passing offense. So as a bigger outside linebacker, they was like, maybe you be better rushing the passer than out in coverage, and it ended up working out like that.
And now as you look back, and what kind of lessons have you been applying specifically as you work on pass rush and trying to improve on what you've already done?
Really just the speed of the game. Like on the edge, it's a lot faster, and on the interior, it's more rugged, So I could just try to take the speed that I have from covering receivers and use it against a lineman, and it's been working out so far.
Cool. And how's the defense looked so far in practice?
I think we look great. We're still working on a lot of working out a lot of the kinks, just trying to get communication down and gel as a unit, because every year is a new unit. Even though if we have a lot of returning starters, every year is different. So we're just trying to gel this year's team together.
And a lot of returners when the linebacker group, but up front and in secondary, some turnover. Like, have you noticed that communication has been smooth and everything like that as the groups have kind of settled in?
Yeah, it's been pretty smooth. We've been meeting together a lot more, like as a unit. It's just helped out a lot. So we all are getting to know each other, the way we play, different types of communication styles, and it's been pretty smooth.
And with Jordan gone, how do you think that's going to impact what you face, in terms of picking up double teams and things like that?
I haven't really thought too much about that. We have like 4 great players up front, so if teams are going to try to double team me, they're going to have to worry about Chris and JT and Bo Richter, PJ Ramsey, Vaya, Paskaya. So like, there's a lot of other people that are going to be able to make plays. So